Hello, my name is Brittney Murphy. I hoped we'd be able to present in person, but here we are with the new normal. I hope my message of I-940 and its importance is received. Thank you all for being here with me today. I am a first-generation high school graduate, undergraduate, and conditional master's student. My inspiration came from my current advisor and mentor, Henderson. She pushed me out of my comfort zone and believed in me when I doubted my own abilities. I will currently work with her on I-940 and another project in my local community. I am a 4.0 student, grateful and thankful to present here at Source. I look forward to being one of Washington's law enforcement officers. It takes one professor and one student, and it worked. Police departments nationwide are encountering an ongoing issue of police use of force. Many law enforcement agencies have come under scrutiny for their use of force practices. Police agencies are facing challenges in community policing due to the issues of use of force and the lack of training and de-escalation techniques used by law enforcement personnel. The issue that is facing the police departments around the United States is the implications of the use of force against citizens in their community. My policy analysis reviews the policy initiative 940. I-940 addresses police use of force and de-escalation techniques required by police personnel. I-940 is a legislative bill passed by Washington State and voted on by its citizens. The current policy is mandatory for law enforcement agencies in Washington State and requires policing agencies to train police officers to de-escalate situations and avoid the use of deadly force unless necessary. The current policy and its enforcement or implementation are funded through the annual budget of each respective law enforcement agency. Each law enforcement agency is required to have written policy and training on de-escalation and training the officers in a manner which fulfills the requirements of I-940. There is currently no statistical data proving the usefulness of I-940. The data collected is a secondary analysis from policing agencies across Washington State and the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Center. There are many benefits that come from de-escalation techniques before resorting to use of force. Verbal de-escalation allows officers to communicate effectively with an offender. If the individual does not comply with verbal commands, then an officer moves to tactical de-escalation, which includes less lethal forms of force to get an individual to comply with their orders. The third de-escalation technique is recognizing when an individual is in a mental crisis. This will allow officers to act appropriately and not assume that the individual is willfully disobeying them. Finally, having an outside agency review cases of use of force helps eliminate inter-department biases. Through my secondary analysis, some of the cons that were discussed include the fact that de-escalation techniques are not always feasible given the time constraint of situations and how they can actively escalate in a manner that is unexpected. The policy does not address bystander interference, and officer safety does not seem to be at the forefront of this policy. Many individuals who have previous encounters with law enforcement still do not respect them and are more likely to continue to be combative. These are the individuals that officers are more likely to encounter on a day-to-day basis. Alternative policy responses are critical in analyzing whether a policy is effective or ineffective. One suggestion would be to increase the term of police academy to ensure that officers receive the full amount of training required by I-940, releasing some of the burden of the smaller police agencies. Overall, I-940 is a useful policy for law enforcement personnel by mandating training to reinforce de-escalation as the first option. There are currently no policies related to I-940 as it is the first of its kind. Policy requirements of I-940 will vary for Washington state law enforcement agencies. Officers who provide the proper de-escalation training are better representations of law enforcement agencies. This will allow trust and communication to gradually rebuild itself in a community that does not trust police officers. Once the trust of officers is regained, effective community policing can once again be present in Washington state. Any policy to calculate its effectiveness must have data collected and an analysis built over time. I have made it my goal to offer to law enforcement agencies in my area to collect the data and analyze it. I am currently working with my source mentor, Christine Henderson from the Des Moines campus, and building those community relationships so that CWU law and justice students from the West Side can be the ones that analyze the data. This is a future goal that I have. As a conditional law and justice master's student, I will continue to work with my mentor to make this primary goal a reality. My current law enforcement agency and coworkers are excited and see the value in the research that I am doing. Thank you all for your time. It has been a pleasure to present this to you.